Right, check in of the first 30 stanzas of Canto 22, where we start out with Aristo apologizing for portraying G. God damn it, her so many names. G G G Canto of 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 what the hell is her name? Of portraying Gabrina as such an evil fucking crone. It's like, I'm not being misogynist. There's lots of awesome, great ladies. He protests, maybe too much. This doesn't take away from, like, all the women who are awesome, though he does say, for few indeed are chaste and continent. Let it not irk you if rancor I bear against Gabrini. So it's like, well, not many of you are actually chaste and continent, but don't let it irk you that I'm so nasty against Gabrini, because I'm sure you're fine. Though, the whole thing of the evil, ugly, faithless, traitorous crone, it's got to be seen as a little bit on the misogynistic side. And it's interesting that he's he's hanging the lampshade on. It's like, okay, I know I'm portraying her as terrible. Almost, you see, this kind of stuff, it's like, it's like, well, maybe Cabrini has a point. I always have that, like, when a author leans so heavy on someone being horrible and nasty, you think, so what are you saying? Is this your comment on all womankind, or female nature of being more prone to sin and evilness than men? All these great men. I mean, there's also evil guys in the story, but it's interesting how much heat gets leveled at women in that. Of course, we do all this apology, and then he says, "Oh, but I need to go and switch. Let's switch. Let's switch back to Alstofo. Yes, between two mountains, when such noise hail, Zerbino enters, and not far has gone. When there before him in a narrow vale, a knight is lying dead. And further on, I'll tell you who he is. Just now, my tale must find Alstofo, whom I left alone in Levant." So we've continued from the last canto, where it's like he's come in between these two mountains and he's found a dead knight, and let's go over to Astolfo. I must find Astolfo where I left him in the Levant. And we get a whole story of him journeying all the way back to England, finding out that his dad or his uncle has his father, Otto, had long since gone to Paris, and he's like, oh shit. So then he needs to head off to Paris. There's, of course, he gets back to the port of London, takes a ship, but then, of course, there's sea mishaps again, which is always interesting because they get into the thing and then suddenly you get point of view of the captain trying to get through the sea stuff. Finally he gets on to where is he? He's Rouen. He gets to Rouen. He saddles his thing, and he's going through the thing. He finds a spring. He's super thirsty, so he it's, what is it? And he found a limpid spring when overhead the sun in heaven stood, and sheep their grazing gowns abandoning shelter in huts or caves. In drowsy mood, both heat and thirst the paladin now bring to a brief halt, because he's going to go drink some water. Except a peasant jumps out, grabs his horse, rides off with it, and he has to pursue him on foot, fully armored, all his weapons clanking on side. The peasant suspiciously doesn't just zoom away with the horse. He holds up enough so that Alstofo can follow him, lures him into what turns out to be another fucking honeypot by the wizard Atlante, who just loves trapping paladins. This seems to be his thing, even when he's not, he's Rigurio, I guess, is who he's is it Rigurio? I can't even remember. There's somebody he's trying to protect from converting, because he knows that when he converts he'll get killed. It's like but Alstofo was like, oh, I have a book that actually can bust this enchantment. So he's flipping through the book to get to the right spot. Says, I just need to smash the talisman. He's lifting it. Atlante sees him do this and says, oh shit, casts an illusion that turns Alstofo into all the opponents, the villains, the monsters of all the other knights that are there. And indeed, all of them suddenly, all suddenly of them, all of them suddenly burst out. Riguro, Grasso, Bradamante, Araldo, with Prezado, Bradamart, and other warriors in a fierce band now are like swooping down to kill Astolfo. And is it like, had he, he blows upon his horn, and they depart. Had he not saved himself by its shrill blast, that moment would have been Astolfo's last. He blows that horn again, and everybody flees, including his horse would have. All the horses also flee. His horse would have. His horse would have also fled, but it doesn't because it comes out and he's able to catch it. However, what he also finds is Rigurio's horse. Yeah, Rigurio is the one who Atlante is trying to thing. But the horse is tethered by a golden chain. And so that, that is the one where, so Astolfo, yeah, he found Rigurio's horse was tethered by a golden chain. I mean that mount on which Atlante had arranged that he should fly to the enchanted garden of the witch Alcea. Lucastilla by and by had made a bridle for it, fair and rich. From India to England he had flown along the right-hand route, as I have shown. And I do not know if you recall the day when Galafron's daughter, nude and fair, duping Rigurio, vanished clean away, and the winged creature rose into the air, shaking its bridle free to his dismay. And I guess it went back to its original master. Until the day Astolfo broke that evil spell. So he's like, he actually knows how to ride the horse because Astolfo had gotten changed into a myrtle tree. I remember that way back at the beginning of this poem of is it Rigurio coming across this myrtle tree and it being Astolfo changed into it. And he changed Astolfo to a myrtle tree. He clearly saw how Lucastilla then controlled it with a bridle, and with care had watched Rigurio's lessons in the air. So he knows how to ride it. So he's going to ride the horse, ride this hippogriff away, but he's got his horse, Rabakan, who he loves, and he can't. And so he hangs around, hoping there's somebody he can pass the horse off to, so that it can things. And he waited, but uselessly. For no one came to break his solitude. But the next morning, when it scarce was light, approached through the wood, he glimpsed a knight, which is where we'll end it there. I love all this kind of magic, kind of fairy tale, just one-on-one knight stuff versus the gigantic battle. This is the stuff that I'm getting. It's just, but it's funny because I know it's like looking at the next session, we've advanced a little bit with Astolfo, and now we're gonna go find Rigurio and the maid. And find out where they had fled to. So yeah, we're just bouncing around. It's no wonder that I have such a hard time of keeping this whole story in my head. I'll need to find some kind of a plot summary somewhere that just kind of tells the story so that I can read it out and try and get some of this back in my head. I'm really enjoying myself reading it. It's quite the challenge to read sometimes, especially with as I mentioned in the last video, the translator's sometimes awkward diction, going for this rhyme scheme, but we're working there, because it's like it's light night works for the last one, but then like the next stanza that we're gonna get is concealed and held, which is like, okay, they both have a D on the end of them, so they're not really rhymes, but that's the kind of thing Reynolds has got to like stretch for, sometimes just completely say fuck it, sometimes juggle the word order to make it's somewhat torturous, or it feels torturous to me. Maybe it's just because she's also going for a kind of a knightly diction versus going for maybe more of a contemporary talk. Well, she's not going for contemporary talk. And I mean, I guess that would be reflective of the original text. But the original text, when it was written, was probably more contemporary sounding because it was contemporary. All right. Yes, that is the first 30 stanzas of Orlando of Canto 22 of Orlando Furioso. And that means we have, yes, we're on the second to last canto for book 1 of Orlando Furioso. And then I will go and purchase book 2 of this massive thing. Oh, which also has an index of proper names. I wonder if that might actually help me to try and keep things in my head. That's the thing about reading ebook. I don't know how long the stanza is sometimes, and I'm surprised when suddenly it ends. And I just, man, trying to keep all these names in my head. An index is probably what I want to use. All right. I've been Jay. More videos later.